Alright, guys. Last one. The Witch. This is a movie that I was actually, this was probably my most anticipated movie that I was going to be watching for this series. Because I remember the trailer. I remember it looked really good. It actually looked kind of scary. It looked like the kind of horror movie that I would really be intrigued by. It's a movie that's very, very heavy on atmosphere, tone, the look of the movie. It was a lot more subtle. It wasn't jump scares. It was creepy factor. That's what it was all about. It was all about being creepy, being unsettling, being slightly disturbing, making you feel kind of uncomfortable. I like movies like that, as I mentioned in some of the past reviews, because a few of them I've watched have really had that, and I like that kind of stuff. While I very, very much enjoyed watching this movie, I was slightly disappointed. It wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be, although it was still very good. It just wasn't quite what I thought, and more importantly, it wasn't quite what I hoped. The storyline was intriguing. There was very much a sense of who is it, what is it that's doing it, who's possessed, is anybody possessed, and I liked the aspect of focusing on this evil that's tearing this family apart, that's external instead of internal. So often it's something that's internal in the family that's causing it. This was an external factor completely. And I like the fact that they didn't play around, and it wasn't an evil spirit, it wasn't magic, it was straight up the devil. I actually really kind of appreciated that, because there's no need to beat around the bush with it. I did like the fact that it was a period piece. It's set in 17th century New England, and I like the fact that, they say right on the front, The Witch, a New England folk tale. And that was important, because I actually watched one of the behind the scenes things on it. And the director, Robert Eggers, was actually saying that he has always had a personal fear of witches. It's always been his biggest fear from his childhood, even up to his adulthood. And so he did a lot of research on the old folk tales from 16th and 17th century America, or 17th century America, and was looking at some of the old folk tales, and there were so many tropes that they held on to those days that are still kind of held on to today. And a lot of that, admittedly, is just ignorance about what witches really are. But there was a lot of stuff like flying around on broomsticks, snatching children, holding meetings, congregating with the devil, things like that. And so he decided to take those tropes, even if they're untrue, that doesn't matter. This is a horror movie after all. He decided to take those tropes and build a world around it, and build a story around those tropes. And this idea of a family that has left their village that they live in to go out on their own, because they feel that the village they lived in, the church that they were a part of, was not Christian enough for them, I guess. It was this idea of this family that believes so heavily in God and prays and worships Him, but they're on their own in this area where evil pervades, where there is dark evil in the forest, there's a coven of witches, things like that. It was just, and I just felt that it was an interesting idea to use that setting and this Puritan godly family for the devil to take a hold of and to tear apart. You know, they tear apart this family, and everybody in the family has their own little dark secrets that they're keeping hidden. You know, you find out that none of them are really pure, except for the boy Caleb. He's the best out of all of them. There's some amazing performances in this movie, especially the young lady who plays the daughter, whose name is Anya Taylor-Joy. Gosh, that name is really hard to say. Lots of Y's. Anya Taylor-Joy. She is amazing in this movie. She's so good. I'm really looking forward to kind of watching her career. She's also in Morgan, which just came out recently, last month I think, which I kind of wanted to go see, but I wasn't able to make it. But anyway, sorry, got off topic a little bit. All the performances were very good. The setting is great. They actually shot this like out in a wooded area. They actually built a cabin and things like that, so it seems very authentic. It seems very realistic. It's a beautiful setting. It's a beautiful atmosphere for the movie. Everything is very authentic. They actually go out in the woods to shoot these scenes. There's not a lot of use of music in the background, and the music that does play during some scenes is very, very simple. It's usually just like I think most of it was just a violin. Very sparse with the music, a lot of use of silence. They actually used Old English in the way they were speaking, and I thought that was an interesting approach to it, to actually use the correct language and the correct syntax and the correct pronunciation of words and things like that. It was really cool. I think one of the big things that this movie has, that while I was slightly disappointed with the story, and what I say when I mean that I was disappointed in the story, I thought the story was really interesting. I thought it was very well done. I'm not sure how I felt about the ending, but I don't want to talk about that in case nobody has seen it. I thought there could have been more. There could have been more about the idea of the possession and the magic, and they actually refer to it as being witched. I thought there could have been a little more. There could have been a little bit more uncomfortableness. There could have been a little bit more tension. And I just think it would have made the movie slightly better, but that's just my opinion. Like I said, I was slightly disappointed with the ending. At the same time, not really, because it was an ending that kind of made sense once you actually saw it. I was still a little bit disappointed with it. All in all, a really good movie. But like I was about to say, one of the big things that this movie has going for it was the director. The director really took his time and took a lot of care in the making of this movie. Like I said, they actually shot it out in a wooded area on this plain. They built the house that these people live in. They made it authentic. There was no electricity in the house. There was no glass windows. It was just shutters. Everything was lit by candlelight. They used candle lighting and natural light for almost all the movie. They tried to use it as much as possible. When they shot outside, they were shooting during the daytime. Even when they were shooting at night, it didn't look like they had a lot of lights on, just enough to be able to maybe kind of halfway see the actor's face. It was literally like they didn't want to use anything else but what they had and a camera. You know, they were actually doing all this stuff. You know, they were using real animals, which caused them some problems. Apparently, one of the goats was just horrendous to try to work with. But that level of care that a director puts into the making of his movie, especially his first movie. This is this guy's first feature. that shows a lot. That shows a lot of dedication. That shows a lot of passion, and that really is something to keep an eye on. That makes you want to keep an eye on the director and what he's going to do. You know, this guy's doing stuff that directors are getting nominated for Oscars for now. I mean, look at The Revenant. Alejandro Ravala, he did a lot of the stuff that this guy did. He actually shot out in the woods. He shot it in only natural light. You know, that's the kind of care and dedication that will do one of two things. It will either make you a revered director, or it will make you a feared director. In either way, you're getting your name out. You know, either people are not going to want to work with you because you go to these extremes, or people are going to want to work with you because you go to these extremes. But I'm really interested to see what this guy does next. I kind of like the idea of using old folk tales to tell horror movies, and I hope that we can see more of that. I would love to see something along the lines of this, but instead of using the devil and witches, focus more on magic. Focus more on actual magic, like actual dark magic. That'd be fantastic. But a good movie, don't get me wrong, a very good movie. Give it probably a 7 out of 10, maybe 8, just for the fact of how much trouble this guy went to direct the film. It's definitely worth a watch. It is a movie that I have a feeling it's a movie that's going to kind of stick with you a little bit, and that's always a good sign for a horror movie. I guess that's about it. I'm finally done with this. I learned some really important lessons trying to do this thing. A, get started earlier. Just because something is a classic doesn't mean it's going to be good. Just because something is underrated by most critics doesn't mean it's not going to be enjoyable. And finally, Guillermo del Toro can do no wrong. That was honestly the best horror movie that I saw out of this whole thing. The horror movies that I watched in this series that I liked most. Okay, I'll tell you those. That I thought were the best movies. Let me put it that way. Rosemary's Baby, It Follows, The Fly, and Mama. Now the ones that I had a lot of fun watching and enjoyed, in that sense, not in the sense that I thought that they were maybe technically proficient movies or very, very good movies, but just ones that I had a lot of fun watching. VHS and Chernobyl Diaries, surprisingly. That was a movie that's just kind of stuck in the back of my mind, like, that was a fun movie. It wasn't good, but it was fun. It was easy to watch. This movie is a little bit harder to watch, but it's worth a watch. And like I said in the review of it itself, please watch Mama. If there's one thing that I can take away from this, and that the advice that I can give you from this, watch the movie Mama. It's so good. And if you really, for some reason, feel, hey, this looks like fun, maybe I should do this sometime. Maybe choose less than 20 movies to try to review in 1 month, and start early. And I started early. I started in September. When I left for vacation at the end of September, I had 8 reviews shot, and 5 of those were edited. I still barely had time. I mean, it is Thursday the 27th, and I'm finishing this up now. As soon as I turn this off, I'm going to go edit this video and get it posted up. I learned some important lessons. So hopefully next year I'll be able to do this a little bit cleaner and maybe do it a little bit better. And I don't know what I want to do. If you guys have any suggestions, I have a year to plan this. If you have some suggestions on horror movies, on some sort of horror movie theme that you would like me to see me tackle, then by all means let me know. But thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for watching. I know this has been a lot of videos. It's been a lot for me to try to do as well. But it's Halloween, and I love October, so it was worth it. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. Bye.